Yay, yay. So we're going to start with our grounding and centering and aligning, and then we're going to go into our meditation, and then we're going to pick an inspiration card at the end. How was it for yesterday? That was a beautiful, beautiful day together. Thank you for that. Today I noticed in my thoughts and my journal that I'm really, I don't know if it's the planets or what it is, but I'm really noticing, I don't want to call it a hypersensitivity, but I'm really noticing a sensitivity to, I can't put my finger on it. It's an emotional sensitivity is what I'm experiencing. Yesterday, I found that I just really needed to tuck in early and just remove myself from my environment and go and have a little solitude at about, I don't even know, 9:30 at night. It was just like, I'm heading up. And then I had a beautiful sleep, but I woke up this morning with that same, I woke up with this pang, like I had maybe, and I'm gonna have to check in, that I might have left the people in the environment out of sorts by me checking out early. So I felt that there might have been a bit of a disconnect there. And we were talking about, how and when and where do I connect and why, and how, when and where and why do I disconnect? So I guess that was really what I was allowing some processing to go through this morning upon waking, and just wanted to really check in with the hearts that were in the room, and let them know that it was. And I wish maybe I would have done that last night if I would have thought of it. But you know what? It's never too late to check in. I said it's never too late to correct a mistake, or it's never too late to check in, and making sure that all hearts involved feel still equally loved and not disconnected from that experience. So that's going to be my my role today, will be to really check in with the other hearts in the room and make sure that they didn't feel disconnected from my choice to check in early last night, because but it's good. It's a good learning process for everybody involved to say, just because somebody checks out of a conversation, or just because someone checks out of a party, or just because somebody, retires to a separate room after supper, or it's often can create a different flavor in the environment, and people might be uneasy if, like, where do I sit? Where do I stand? I feel like I'm on eggshells. And I think it's important that we really take a look at that conditioning, and it comes back to that pre-programming, the stories that I'm making in my mind, and I'm making stories right now. But I just want to make sure that all hearts are on deck and they feel good and loved and held and safe. And that's the most important part. But it's curious, to be curious of that awareness. So if that awareness is coming up for me this morning, and that's my sensing when I get up this morning, pay attention to those. That's your spidey senses, where you're noticing that the energy or the flavor in your house or the flavor in your room or something might seem a little off. It could just be me. It could just be me being off. But nonetheless, I want to check in, and I want to make sure that everybody feels loved and supported, and most importantly, safe. Safe means a whole different thing at different points, because we really can't understand what safe means for all these cells and these spidey senses over and above our sensory organs. I believe we have probably a heck of a lot more than 6. But to also go to, how do we possibly tap into those 40 trillion bits per second, those those data triggers or those data points, and the in the subconscious mind, and the conscious mind is even 40,000 bits per second. So whenever we get something, pay attention to it. Give it some space. Give it some thoughts, and that's more of an intuitive sense, especially as you come to meditate more. Like I said, you're going to increase your sensories and potentially your sensitivity. It's not always a bad thing. That's not a bad thing. You know, it's not a bad thing to cry. It's not a bad thing to be happy. It's not a bad thing to be sad. So let's really tap into that. And right now, let's tap into the earth and know that we are, and that we're going to that central core of the earth. We have that ability in our energetic etheric feet and our intention. So breathe into wherever you're sitting. You might want to open the mouth and have a gentle exhale, and try to exhale as long as you can to release all that stale CO2 in your body. I had little gurgles at the very end. I don't know if you can feel your abdomen coming in, your abdomen wall coming in. And then my tummy just started gurgling as I got out all that last bit of the CO2. So it's really interesting because gurgles obviously mean that something is moving and shifting. And if something is moving and shifting, energy is moving and shifting. So it might even be allowing to get that space to release that stuck, stale CO2. And then on your next inhale, I don't know if you noticed the sort of the freedom in your breath, that it actually has the opportunity to go lower, but trust that to be so, because wherever we make space, it fills, the body will fill. So, and fill it with that unconditional love as you breathe in, and that unconditional love for you and for you being here. So let's now bring in our imagination, turn all our sensory organs, see if we can see as we go down to the earth, see if we can hear, see if we can taste, see if we can smell, see if you can just have that knowingness that you're going down to the earth, and that tactileness of the different temperatures you may experience. So turning on your etheric feet. So if your feet are on the floor, engage those 4 points on the base of your feet, and engage your toes, your big toe and your second in from your baby toe, and allow that to be your source of drawing up the energy. Same thing as you draw it up your body. So let's start with going down as we take an inhalation, and we, on the exhalation, really imagine settling into the earth. And now turning on your imaginary feet, your etheric feet, or your tree roots, whatever you're choosing to use today, and allow that to go right down into the central core of the earth. The first layers to break through the earth's crust, and then come into the mantle with the rock and the slate and the sand, and come into that area and traverse through in a straight line down to that energy, that crystalline core of the earth, coming into the molten, the warmth of the liquid, where we can just swish right down and right through. If it's stopping and taking a look around, allow that. Work with the energy as you are engaging a new experience down into the central core of the earth. Wrap your tree roots, wrap your etheric feet around that central core of that earth. And if you haven't come upon it yet, that's okay. Just wait. As you breathe in and you exhale, we go down further and further. Now permission to receive this beautiful red frequency energy of the Mother Earth, often depicted as red, and the frequency of about 5 to 25 hertz. Permission to heal, permission to receive as you draw it up on the in-breath, following the same line that you created to go down. Sucking it up like through a straw and bringing it up, right up fully, 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 fully to the bottom of your 2 feet and filling both your feet. Feel that sense of what you are receiving as in energy. Now on the next inhale, breathe it up through your ankles and your calves. Wash it over your knees, your thighs, your pelvis. Touching all this area, bringing in this safety and this security, this container in which we can anchor into as we prepare to go up in our alignment. Bring it up into your lower abdomen. Bring the breath down to your lower abdomen, bringing that energy up through your lower abdomen, expanding your ribs and your back body. Breathe it into your chest, allowing the heart space and the lungs to open as you cascade it over your shoulders, releasing all the weight of the world, allowing your shoulders to drop 3 inches. You might want to move a little as it comes down your arms, to your wrists, to your hands, to your fingers. Know that we can offer that as a container for others as we feel it as a safety container for yourself. Now take a nice breath and breathe it up into the neck, the gateway between your mind and your body, and up over your face, filling your full skull, taking it to the top of your head. And if you like, you can even imagine it coming out the top of your head and cascading down like a waterfall, touching your first and second layers of your biofield, your energy signature, your human energy field, HEF. Sense what you feel in the body. Sense what it feels like to create this safety container for yourself, this security, this knowingness, this abundance of connection to Mother Earth and her bounty that she provides for us. And we're going to prepare to center. So what does centering mean? It means bringing that line that you've created from the center core of the earth up through the perineum of the body, up through the spine. As we prepare to take it and ascend it up through into our aligning with the cosmos, God, creator, source, energy, gurus. But right now, let's just take a little teeter-totter or back and forth and find that still point that allows the body to bring in all that energy, that energy that I had going through in my story this morning of, wanting to check in with people last night to make sure that my early retire to bed was not seen as a trigger or made someone anxious or feel uncomfortable or unloved. I just really wanted to check in this morning. So I want to call in that energy. The body's going to do that naturally. I don't have to, or you don't have to do anything. Just by coming into a centering still point, the body must. It's like standing on one foot. The body's got to pull itself in and create that ground and center through that line that was created. Now we're going to allow that to come out through the top of the head, we're going to send it up, like we're going to put our antenna up, create a super highway to divine creator source, God energy, higher self, divine consciousness, the place of many names. You pick for that today. It may change over time. So give yourself permission to feel into what feels right for you right now. What is it that you're sensing is something more than just you here on this earth, that we do, in fact, have energies that we connect with, universal energy and earth energy. These are 2 universal forces, energy forces that are work with the resonance of us. And allowing permission to receive this gold and white light energy, this beautiful divine frequency of energy, permission to receive, permission to heal, is to call it in through the top of the head, that crown chakra, Sahasrara. Allow it to open to receive this beautiful golden white light as we allow it to touch every cell and every space in between each cell. Feel it as it comes into your head and behind your eyes and bathes over your eyes and your face and the top of your skull, the back of your skull, the side, and into the throat area as you invite it down through the gateway. So we can see with love and talk and speak with love. We can be in calming the my will of the ego and stepping into the thy will of divine consciousness. Breathe it in over your shoulders, bathing again these big joints that carry all this weight of the world, and releasing it down your arms and out your fingertips. If you want to direct it right into the earth, you can turn it on and direct it, completely direct it into the earth. Open the windows of your nails and allow that energy to cascade down all that does not serve you. And just like a tap, when you are done, you must turn them off and come back up and breathe it further down into your chest, this golden white light energy. Expand it out. Open your heart. Feel and fill the divine consciousness, that divine energy in your lungs and your heart and down into your torso. Breathe it down into every organ once again, in every space and every cell. Breathe it down your back body and down your spine, nurturing all those areas. Bringing that divine energy into your hips and your pelvis and your thighs, and those wonderful knees, down your calves, your ankles and your feet that take us the places that we are to go on this journey called life. Take a nice inhalation to your lower breath, and on the exhale, just allow it to expand in your body. Expand it to every space in your body. Sense that light, sense that divine presence, that knowingness. Sense that sense of clarity. This is a beautiful place. If you're in a place where you're feeling alone, or you have some worry, some doubt, there's a lot of uncertainty, this is a great place to rest and feel this presence and feel this knowingness. Ask a question, ask for help, ask for guidance. We are never, ever alone. Show me the way. I'm worried, I'm uncertain, I want to release all this that does not serve me, all this uncertainty, all this story. Who am I on the other side of this pandemic? Who am I on the other side of this situation? Show me, guide me. And that's where you might just want to write and write and write. If you have that time today, or you have that time on the weekend, set up an appointment for yourself. Chalk yourself into your calendar of time, that linear sense of time. It is a concept, it is a construct in which we live that we need to manage and find within ourselves to create that, to add to our peace place. That might mean you need to get up half an hour earlier. I find it's easier to get up earlier than it is to stay up later. I don't know, whatever works for you. Find what works for you and lean into that. But don't stay up too late, because we do have a circadian clock, and it's important that we don't stay up really late, because then the body goes into a thinking mode after a certain time, usually about 11, 12 o'clock at night, the body, and you might even notice if you're waking up at 2 o'clock in the morning, the body's in full thought. So if you can be harder to get back to sleep then, or harder to actually just get to sleep then. So let's get prepared to go into meditation now that we're in this beautiful space of grounding, centering, and aligning. Feel this. Know that you can bring this on at any point in time. It's so, I call it delicious. I call it better than breakfast. This is my food for my soul until later in the day. Then I'll feed my body, but whatever works for you. Whatever works for you. Sometimes it's so hard just to come out of this resting place of this grounding, centering, and aligning. But time permits us to carry on. So let's grab a blanket. You can have a sip of water. If you're feeling thirsty, go to the bathroom. Reposition yourself. I'm going to grab my mala. We'll do 5 rounds of the mala. I'll let you know when we finish each round. What do I want to work with today? Here's a new stone that I'm going to bring in today. This is for inner peace. You know, since I'm having a little bit of intuitive thinking going on with regards to, I want to do a check-in. I want to make sure I'm really operating from a place of inner peace. So I'm going to use this stone. I don't know if you can see this beautiful stone and its lines in it. It's like a burst. So it's like a little burst of rays of sunshine is what it looks like in there. So it's called a scolasite, and it's for inner peace. It's excellent for teams, and it synergizes a group of stones and makes them far more powerful, harmonizing force between different energies. So, you know, it's really important, especially this time of year, is even though we may not be connected in energies in the same room, we are still a connected family field, or, you know, the people that are in your bubble, we have a tendency to make a bubble field. And it opens the pathways between emotional, mental, physical, and the spiritual body. Helps chronic fatigue. It's good for the brain and our serotonin levels. So, and it works really good with natural light. So I'm going to pull out my natural light, and I'm going to work with that together. And the natural light is like, this one's just like a little rosebud. And it clears and aligns all the chakras and meridians. And I believe that when we ground, center, and align, we're definitely fortifying that energy system, because we're working with that central channel of our dynamic chakra system. And this stimulates the nervous system as well and regulates the nervous system. So we work with those two together. So I'm going to create the mudra. My index finger is going to go into my thumb. My middle finger, my ring finger are going to come to the center. I'm going to put this scolasite, pardon me, into my palm of my hand. And I'm going to put the neutral light in the center as a conductor. Let's see how that goes. I'm going to place my hand on my abdomen to remind my breath to breathe down into my lower abdomen to engage that deep diaphragmatic breath. Now, to engage that, we just breathe in, down, and we can put our hand there. And when the hand moves out, that allows you to recognize that they're reaching the diaphragm, because the diaphragm, when we breathe in, goes up, and the diaphragm, when we breathe out, comes out and flattens out. You may feel it on the side ribs in your back body, and that's the goal with that breath. But for the meditation, we'll work with the breath that you're presently working with. There is some videos on YouTube with regards to going further into the deep diaphragmatic breath, and also on the chakra dynamic system, the 111 episodes on Facebook in a series that if you wish to further educate yourself on, that's there. Or simply send me a message to info@blissb.me, and I'd love to work with you with it. I do offer virtual and distant healings as a practitioner, and information sessions, guidance, as well as the membership, so the monthly membership. So I'd love to connect with you in any of those places to work with you and aid you along in this fabulous, delicious journey that we're on. Okay, so to work with the mantra, Soham, that's inhaling on the so, exhaling on the hum, and finding a place to sit, not only on the outside, but on the inside. So you may want to sit just behind your third eye. Often think of it of sitting on the pineal gland. There's a little pine cone. Take yourself and observe yourself sitting in the back of the third eye, or observe yourself sitting in your heart. You can pull up a little chair in your heart, or nuzzle up beside your physical heart, or just sometimes I feel like I'm sitting on the bud or an opened lotus flower that's sitting here, or the bud of a lotus. It's often called a yantra when you bring in that symbology like that. So bring yourself to your seat and breathe into your seat. And with an exhale and open mouth, let's settle in. Releasing all and any tension and anything that does not serve your body. It's kind of like closing the curtains, stepping behind the veil and closing the curtains as we come to this place, your place for meditation right now. As we inhale, so, and exhale, hum. Inhale, so, and exhale, hum. Inhale, so. Exhale, hum. One complete breath, equal in inhalation and in exhalation. No pause, no jerks, no noise. Inhaling a little deeper, exhaling a little longer. One even and complete breath. That's one. Thank you, Guru, thank you. Curling your lips up a little. If thoughts come in, and they will, allow them to. Just put them in the cloud or put them in a bubble. Put them on a train as it moves past. The goal is to not engage with them. That's 2. Thank you, Guru, thank you. You may want to check your posture. Recenter or re-establish your anchor on your seat by breathing into where you are sitting. Just allowing your thoughts to pass you by. If you're feeling any tension, just breathe your breath and bathe that area with your breath. That's 4. You may want to dedicate this round to someone you wish to hold in your heart. You may wish to bring your mantra down into your heart if you're not there already. But it's perfectly fine to keep this round for yourself. That's 5. You're welcome to stay one more round in your Soham mantra, or you're welcome to join me in Bliss Be Me as I enjoy tapping into the frequency of bliss. And it's a 3-syllable mantra, so it goes like this. Bliss be me, 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 bliss be me. Just allowing that to create that state of flow with that mantra in your space, your meditation space. So it's another opportunity to learn just to engage with the breath, create the rhythm, and just go with the flow, that state of flow. I often see a kaleidoscope of colors. Curl your lips up a little bit. Strengthen that collective field of bliss, joy, and love. And strengthen the template in which we do the work. You can restyle the lifestyle. It's not really work, it's a lifestyle. Take a nice deep breath. Bring your hands into your chest in a prayer position, namaste hands. And just bow your head to yourself and in gratitude for being here, for showing up, taking this time for you. Rub your palms together, create some friction and some warmth. Bring them up to your eyes and just cup your eyes. And allow your eyes to open into your hands and bathe in the energy of your body, of your hands, the warmth. Come back. How is that for you today? What do you notice? So it's one of those days I know that I'm going to come back to my meditation not too short after, if not just stay. We'll get an energy card. And these ones are actually called energy cards, or energy oracles, by Sandra Ann Taylor. It's a 53 card deck. It's quite large. So I'll shuffle these up and see what our inspiration is for today. Oops, there it is. Oh, it looks just like the crystal that we were working with today, that I was working with today. This is what it looks like. This actually is called this represents the 6th chakra. And this one is referring it to Archangel Metatron. So let's see what that has to say for us. I have worked with that energy before. Clarity of thought and personal vision. How timely as we're coming up onto the solstice and the end of the new year, the end of this year and the beginning of the new year. This very powerful Archangel Metatron brings brilliant indigo vibrations to your brow chakra, or third eye, which is the center devoted to insight and clear thought. When this card appears upright, it indicates a much greater clarity in your thought process and expanded perspective toward broader horizons. Hooray. Some new perceptions are taking hold and the clouds of confusion are clearing. In some ways, this could be a new beginning for you on your way to developing a deeper insight about what's going on in your life and why. Now is the time to focus on your personal vision. What do you want your life to look like in the years ahead? Create a clear picture of that and support it with your daily thoughts. The insight you need to create a vibrant life is available to you now. I am so joyful. This is such a great card. It holds a lot of promise for creating that vision. And if you are interested in my yearly planner, I'll send you the the free resource I use. Just simply go to my website, www.blissb.me, and sign up for the newsletter, and I will look at who's participated in this meditation challenge, and I will send you a copy of the link to the yearly planner, and then planning to do a workshop around that yearly planner in January so that we can stand synergistically together and crawl in the manifestation to create the dreams and the life that you want, especially in 2020.